Good evening, industry explorers. It's great to have you guys. Welcome to another episode of our live stream self mastery series. Today, with us, we have Nate Peo talking about how to leverage LinkedIn to gain new possibilities. How are you doing, Nate?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You are actually in one of my stomping grounds. You're in Corona. I grew up in Lake Elsinore.
Yeah, you were posting the other day. I was like, had some photos done at Dos Lagos. You're like, I know where that's at. I was like, how do you in the Midwest know where Dos Lagos is? And then you revealed your
I
secret.
I love being mysterious until I get found out. So anyway, let's get right into it. Nate actually comes from the construction industry. So, do you mind sharing with us how you got from construction industry to coaching people on how to leverage their LinkedIn?
Yeah, so it kind of starts off with the story of how I grew up, I guess, or whatever. So I went to college for architecture school, and I realized real quickly that I wasn't artistic enough to go become an architect. And they had this program that kind of mirrored the architect program, and it kind of mirrored the civil engineering program called construction management. And so I was interested in that. So I made a pivot to construction management. I was like, this is fantastic. This is what I want to do. And so, you get into construction management in college and you have your summers off. And what do? You want to go out and get some work experience doing things related to construction. So you have some knowledge of it. And those jobs that you tend to get when you're 18, 19 in the summer is being a laborer for a construction crew, which meant carrying bags of 90-pound bags of cement around and cleaning out the back of trucks and washing people's tools and doing all kinds of like really menial labor tasks until you built up a little bit of seniority. Did you have something?
Quick question. Did people ever send you to go get tools that didn't exist?
My favorite one would be this guy. This isn't a tool, but we poured concrete. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know what you're saying. Like there's the 2x4 stretcher, there's the sky hook, there's a bunch of them. But he used to take a handful of concrete in his hand when we were pouring concrete, and he'd smell it. And he'd go, love the way fresh concrete smells in the morning. And of course, the new guy on the job would take a smell it, and then he just bop him in the nose, and like the guy would smash the concrete on his face. So that was the one that I didn't happen to me, but it's one of those funny stories that happened to other people for sure. So
yeah, I like calling on radios and asking for like a 2x4 extender or the Weber strip adapter or something like that. Just dumb things that don't exist. I like making people laugh. But anyway, so
yeah.
18, 19 years old, you're out on the construction sites, you're doing the menial tasks. And then what? And you're also at the same time getting your degree in construction management.
Yeah, so I was doing that in the summers. It was nice because like you worked a ton of hours and you got paid pretty decent. I mean, you got paid more than you would if you worked at like a restaurant or something like that. And so I did that and eventually graduated from college and went to go get my first real job out of college. And I applied for a company that was based out of Nebraska, where I grew up, that had an office in California. And what I wanted to do growing up is I hated the winter. So I said, I got to get out. I got to go to California. And I went to this like recruitment seminar, and the recruitment seminar had photos of beaches in LA and San Diego where these projects were being built, and Hawaii. They're doing work at Hawaii at the time. And they said, well, we're going to hire you. We got a job for you. It's in Bakersfield. So I look on a map and I see where Bakersfield is in California, and it's smack dab in the middle of nowhere. Yep. And so that was my first real job, was working on a water treatment plant. And I show up, and in college and the work I did on the summers was like residential construction, which was like building houses or working for houses, or I did commercial stuff. Like the stuff we looked at in school was like, office buildings or I would call it like really simple construction. And my first job out of college was going to work on a water treatment plant. And I'm like, what the heck is a water treatment plant? And so basically, when you flush a toilet, right, it goes in the sewer, and the sewer goes somewhere, and the water comes in to this facility and it gets treated. It gets separated from the good stuff from the bad stuff. And there's all these structures that have to be built that do it. And so that's what I worked on. And I learned a lot more about water treatment plants than I probably care to admit. But it was a lot of fun and learned a bunch of different stuff. And so I went from a role of being the guy in the field to now I had a degree, and I was just that dumb kid that was an engineer that didn't know real world experience, right? And so like when you had to do stuff, all the crews kind of gave you crap because you had an education, but you hadn't had any real construction experience. So
yeah,
little did they know that I poured a lot of concrete in my day. So every now and then I'd get the tools and show them I knew how to finish some concrete. But that was kind of what I did for about 5 years. I worked on construction sites, and we built water treatment plants. We built light rail. So like, if you're in like electrified train tracks, stuff like that, not like freight trains, but passenger transit. Worked on a lot of those type of projects, always in the construction, always, in the day-to-day stuff. There really wasn't much need to network out of, who you're hanging out with at the job site. You knew the people that were doing the work, and you knew the office staff, and you knew the supervision. That was all you needed to know. But about 2004, 2005, the home building industry was going gangbusters, and they were recruiting anybody with a pulse to come work in the industry. And if you knew a thing or two, they'd pay you a bunch of money. And so they said, hey, do you want to come work in the home building industry? We'll pay you a lot more money. You're going to have a lot less responsibility, and you're going to have a shorter commute. So of course I said, sounds like a good idea. That's what I want to go do. And I got plugged into the home building industry, which was completely different than doing heavy civil construction. Now, all of a sudden, I'm in a space where having personal relationships kind of mattered. Like you needed to be able to get good contractors on the job. Like that whole thing was schedule, schedule, schedule. We got somebody buying this house. They need to move in. We got to get people on the job that can deliver. And we were working for Fortune 500 companies that had to answer to shareholders. So missing a home closing was like devastating. So we would do whatever it took to get people out on the job to solve these projects. And I quickly realized that you needed to have relationships with your trade contractors if you ever wanted to get anything done. It wasn't this method of, hey, get somebody on the phone, beat them up, grind them down, treat them like crap so they'll take this price. The kind of the way you like heard negotiating was done. It really revolved around having people that you know and trusted that could get onto the job site. I had one Saturday morning, my boss called me up and he said, I'm firing our paver today, Saturday morning, and you need to have somebody else up on the job paving the streets on Monday. And at the time, you couldn't call and get asphalt delivered on a day's notice. Everybody was paving streets. So like if you missed your pave date, like you got back in the queue, you might lose 2 or 3 weeks. So I had to call around, get a trade contractor out on the job on Monday, short notice. So I called up somebody I had a good relationship with, and they got out there and got it done. And if you were able to pull rabbits out of your hat like that, it went a long way. So you quickly realized that you needed relationships to get stuff done. But it was always kind of centered around the little small industry of home building construction. But as my career grew, my responsibilities grew, and the problems I needed to solve grew. And it required me having connections just not in the localized industry, but the national industry. I needed to have relationships with the national accounts. There's manufacturers making tons and tons of products, and they want to get it in front of you. And if you have the best relationships, you can get better deals, or you know what's available, or you can find lower cost solutions to the same problem if you know what's out there. So I started growing that network. And again, every time I grew the network, my career grew too. And so I just kind of was doing this unintentionally. I wasn't like really planning this out. I was just kind of like, hey, I need to go make relationships here. I need to go make relationships year. And then eventually I started realizing like, hey, this is I'm kind of onto something. Like I've heard about people saying your network is your net worth, but I didn't really put two and two together in that same aspect. And then when it did dawn on me, I was like, what would it look like if I tried to leverage my network as much as I could? What if I went out there and tried to meet with as many people as I possibly could, get exposed to new ideas and opportunities? And it was kind of stemmed from this idea of I wanted to get involved with startup companies. I wasn't sure like really how to begin. And my idea was like, hey, if you wanted to get an investment into Facebook before they became Facebook, like they're not going to knock on your door, show up and ask you to invest in their company and make you a multi-millionaire. You're going to have to be connected to the people that get those deals put in front of them. So I was like, well, how do you do that? Well, you got to kind of build a network of people in that space. And so I started hanging out with tech companies, startup tech companies, specifically in clean energy. And I started growing that network. And all of a sudden I was like having a lot of fun meeting these people in this different space, but there was still a lot of crossover to the relationships I had made in the construction world. And so I was like, oh, this is really, really good. So that kind of led me to this journey of like, hey, what would it look like if I connected with as many people as I possibly could? And at the time I was like, okay, wouldn't it be interesting if I documented that? Just because if I did something like that, I'd have a record of it. If it's really successful, be like, look at this. We started here from nothing and grew to here. And like, this was the journey along the way. Or if it failed spectacularly, there'd be a record of that too. And even that would be good. And at the very least, I'd learn a lot along the way. So I started down this journey. Well, how do you document something? You probably got to put it out there on social media, and you probably need to be a bit vulnerable. And it wasn't something that felt comfortable, but I knew that if I wanted to do something big, I'm going to have to eventually get over myself and put myself out there. Nobody ever that you look up to that's out there right now that you go, hey man, that person's like changing the world, or they're big and influential, or they're doing like amazing things. At some spot, they had to put themselves out there. And really, I think the difference is they chose to do it versus what a lot of us do is go, I'm not an expert. That's not for me to do. Let somebody else do it. I'm just going to stick to what I know. And we play small, and not intentionally. We just go, hey, that's for somebody else to do. And that's okay if that's not what you want to do. But I felt like I had a calling to do a bit more. So that led me to a Gary Vaynerchuk video, and he was talking about, hey, you got to get on LinkedIn, you got to get on TikTok. And I was like, oh, I've been on LinkedIn for about 10 years and I never really did anything with it. I just kind of accepted everybody, whoever friended me. And so because of my role in construction, I was a buyer. Everybody wanted to connect with me because they wanted to sell me stuff. I had grown a decent amount of connections just by just being on there. I hadn't done anything with it. So it was like, this is a bigger platform than I have on any other social media. Why don't I use those connections I've made to kind of document this journey? And so that was about a year ago this time I had the idea. It took a few months to kind of roll it out, and led to creating a podcast. It led to promoting the podcast on LinkedIn. But really what happened is because I was very open to making connections, and I was using LinkedIn to kind of manage it. Think of it more as a tool than as social media, but it was a tool to make better connections, bigger connections with people. I started reaching out, and all of a sudden, like, things just started like skyrocketing. I got exposed to different ideas, people, opportunities I wouldn't have had the chance to have met before. I kept getting, having conversations with amazing people, which led to other things. And that's really what kind of took me from construction to LinkedIn. And as I started leveraging it, I started looking for ways to, how could I give back? How could I help people? And we have a bit of knowledge within ourselves. And I think a lot of us are always out there looking to consume more information. We want to learn more. We're always in a path to learn. But what we forget is at some point, we have enough knowledge that we should be sharing it with the people that haven't acquired that same knowledge they're looking for. And I had a teacher in high school, and he said, if I tell you how to do something, you'll probably retain about 25%. If I show you, maybe 50. if you do it yourself, you'll learn 75, but if you go and teach somebody else, you'll learn 100% of it. And so
Mm.
I got to a point where I was like, hey, I want to showcase and help people out. Because my thing, as I was growing my networking, it's not like, hey, what can I do for you and what can you do for me? It's who in my network would benefit from knowing you, and who in your network would I benefit from helping them out, and who in our networks could we introduce to each other to really make a difference. And I found a lot of fulfillment instead of chasing dreams or chasing the next promotion, chasing the next raise, chasing the next job. Like those things, it's like as soon as you got them, check the box, move on to the next thing. What's next? And it was not a lot of fulfillment. But where I was getting fulfillment was, hey, I have this sales rep over here that really wants to do amazing things in their company. And I know somebody over here that needs their services, and I make an introduction. And because of that introduction, they're growing their business. This person solved a problem, and they're both super happy we made that connection. I was like, I want to do more of that. And that's where I got this like fulfillment in connecting people, what I call being a connector is you're always looking, always on the look for like, hey, who are one or two other people that I could introduce to the person I'm talking to that will make a difference in their life. So I started noticing that people weren't using LinkedIn to their full potential. The way I was and the way I'd seen a lot of other people in other industries do it. So I said, this might be an opportunity to pivot into is helping others leverage LinkedIn to grow their network. And really what I say is if we're in business, we're in a people to people business. We're not in a business to business. We're not a business to consumer. We do business with people. And if you want to meet and connect with more people, you need to network. And LinkedIn just happens to be a place where a lot of eyes are at right now. It's like an online digital networking event happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So you want to hang out there. And if you hang out there long enough, you're going to make connections with other people. So I started showing people, hey, how do you behave? If you go to a networking event, you don't walk in, scream off the top of your lungs, I sell insurance. No, you'd look like a fool.
But that's a good way to think about it.
You have conversations with people. You get to know them. You show up regularly. And as you do more often, people know who you are, what you're doing, and they want to do business with you because they like you. And I started realizing, too, a lot of us have a business side and a personal side, and we keep them separate. But what people really like on LinkedIn is that personal side. And when you drop the business persona and put forth a bit more personality of who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly, they love that stuff and they like you for you. And it's like, hey, we got to show people too, like, hey, if you can be a human, you can attract more business into your life. You can sell more products in life. You can make better connections, because it's really, at the end of the day, we're trying to assemble a team in construction, assemble a team of the best possible trade partners, the best possible teams, the best arrangement of products and services to build the project we're trying to do. It's basically outsourcing team building and bringing it into one cohesive project, and then we move on to the next one. And so if you're trying to build a better team, like, you need to be prospecting for better team partners. You need to get out there and meet other vendors, other trades. No matter if you're in sales or if you're in buying or you're in management, everything relies on what you can do to get a team together and accomplish the project. So that's why I think LinkedIn is so powerful. No matter what role you're in, what company, what industry, it allows you to find those people that you can pull together, assemble the best team, and complete whatever project you're on. That was kind of a long roundabout way story of construction to LinkedIn.
I absolutely love it. And actually, I'm doing this series to help displaced entertainment workers kind of get back on their feet and find work in either other industries or reach out to other companies whom they may never have reached out to before in order to fulfill certain roles and needs. And hearing you talk about the construction industry just it gives me so many memories from my time on job sites in the entertainment industry. We actually, when it comes to OSHA and safety, sometimes we follow the general safety standards and sometimes we have to follow construction safety standards. So, and it depends on the situation. It depends on what point you're at in your install, because think about it, we're building things as well. we're building usually it's temporary, but in other cases it's permanent. Look at all the
Mhm.
Cirque du Soleil shows on the Vegas Strip. Those shows have been running for over a decade. So it's really nice to hear, because in my head I'm thinking all of these people whom I've worked with have all of these same skills that you discussed when you're assembling your team. And a lot of people that I know have a very similar story. They started at a very young age. They learned on the job. They had to do those menial tasks. They worked their butt off to get to wherever they are today, and they're willing to always go above and beyond. Because have you ever been to an event or an attraction that yes, sometimes you can be disappointed, but as far as like production value goes, it's with the tools that are given to entertainment workers, they're going to make the best out of whatever they're given. So it doesn't matter if it's a small budget or a multi-million dollar budget event, they're going to do the best work that they can do. And on your point of assembling teams, and it's all about who you know, that's very true in the entertainment industry as well. I have had very few instances in which I've had a formal interview. Usually it's people know me by reputation, and they want me to be on their job site, which is very awesome and very flattering. But at the same time, I've accomplished that by putting myself out there. I have a couple of videos. I have a video on YouTube from Cal State Fullerton. I did a presentation on suspension trauma, and it has over 3,000 views. And that's something that's me putting myself out there and getting the attention from a lot of safety professionals, entertainment professionals, riggers, EMT, rope access technicians, and I've even done like a dumb 90-second video where I'm like, here is one teeny tiny basic thing about rigging that is helpful to know, but it's just one teeny tiny speck out of like all the many things that we have to learn in order to do our job safely. And from that 90-second video, someone approached me asking if I could do more training videos for their company. And that's what I would be doing now if we weren't in a global pandemic. But
Well, you bring up a good point.
regardless,
Is like you have to put yourself out
yes,
there, and where there is could be a lot of things. And I had somebody early in my career tell me like, hey, you're not going to get anything promotion wise, raise wise, anything if you don't ask for it. Like you have to ask for it.
that's a good point.
And so when you would get a promotion, maybe you got a company truck that was supposed to go along with the promotion, but they would never just give you the truck. You had to go like say, hey, do I get the truck with it? So everywhere I got in my career had something to do with me asking for it or putting myself in a position where the opportunity was more likely to occur. And you're talking about the same thing. Like if you're like, hey, I want to get into a specific industry and you don't know where to get started, like look around. Where do the industry people hang out at that you want to get involved in, right? So if you said, hey, I'm not really getting much work in the entertainment industry, I want to go become an underwater welder, right? Where are you going to learn about it?
We do have people in our industry that do that.
Yeah. So where are you going to
World
go?
of color.
Yeah,
Like we do have those people.
yeah. So it's like, where do you go to learn that? You don't go hang out at the golf
Yeah.
store, right? You go hang out where people are likely to do this. And you start getting introduced to the right people. You start getting plugged in. And then you do things to set yourself apart where people that might be looking for your knowledge will go and find it and know who you are. And then you kind of, like you said, you make a name for yourself. Hey, we want you on the job. And you're meeting the people that you work for because they're going to give you good references, good referrals. And I think we forget too, when we first get started out in our career, we're like, hey, this is just a job. It's not, maybe I won't see these people again, but it's usually a pretty small industry and people remember those things and you come across them again in the future. So you leave a good taste in somebody's mouth, they're going to like be excited to work with you again. And then all of a sudden you've been in the industry for a significant amount of time and you're kind of known as an expert in what you do. And it's all has to do with how you present yourself and what your reputation is too, which is a lot.
On a personal note, I've had experience where people have slandered my name. Um, People have said not very nice things about me. I won't get into it because it's explicit, but when you do build your reputation and you put yourself out there, soon you start, your vibe attracts your tribe. So people who truly do know you are going to start saying, no, she does know what she's doing. No, she's not concerning herself with X, Y, or Z. Like, that's a rumor, and shut it down. And I'm very lucky to have friends and colleagues who have been in situations where they've been like, dude, don't say those things about her. That's not true. Like, you need to stop talking about
Mhm.
her. You need to start saying such negative things. And I say that because it's important for any man or woman who is struggling in that similar regard. And especially women, if you're in a male dominated industry and you're thinking about what other people are saying about you, just let your work speak for itself. Let your
Mhm.
work speak for itself. And you can also do that not just at the job site, but when you are on LinkedIn and you are contributing content and you're talking about things that you're a subject matter expert in, or even if you don't regard yourself as an expert, if you think of yourself as someone very curious and you put yourself out there saying, hey, this is what I'm interested in. Who's an expert? Who can I pick someone's brain on this? People are very friendly. Like, a lot of people are friendly enough that they're going to be like, oh yeah, let me help you out. Yeah, hey, this is my passion. I would love to tell you about what I do. But you have to not be afraid to take that first step.
Yeah.
We're totally, like, we're already talking about networking on LinkedIn, and I told you, like, these conversations were totally going to be intertwined. But how would one get started on LinkedIn?
So, like anything, you have to go and you have to begin the process. So, LinkedIn is like any other social media account. You create one. I mean, it's pretty simple. You sign up with an email. I'm sure it's been a long time since I've done it, but after you've created a LinkedIn profile, and you can probably Google it and say, well, what should I put on it? And you put your job history and you put your pictures up there and you say, okay, I'm ready to go. Well, you're probably not ready to go. You're close. You got the bare minimum, but this is a networking event. So we do want to show up. We do want to present ourselves in the best possible way. We want to give a good first impression. So when you think about creating your LinkedIn profile, you wanted to highlight the things you're good at. Like you said, you want your work to speak for itself. And you want people to clearly understand what you do. So if I went on your profile and we said, I can't quite tell what you do, you got like pictures of Cirque du Soleil things, and I mean, are you an entertainer? Are you one of the people, the trapeze artists? What are you? And like, oh no, I set up the rigging for this thing. I'd be like, oh, that didn't make sense to me. Like, and so what you want to do is be very, very clear, like very precise about what you do. So if anybody lands on your profile page and your profile actually shows up in other locations as you engage people, it shows up in their feed, their notifications. So you want to be very clearly say, I am this, I do this for these people. And so there's no doubt about what it is you do and who you do it for you. So it's basically handing out your business card without handing it out so people know what you are. So after you've created your profile and you've got it optimized and you look nice, so you're ready to go to the networking party, you put on your nice clothes, got your business cards in your pocket or your purse, whatever it might be. You decide you're going to go show up to the networking event. Well, you can't show up one time, get a cocktail, walk out the door 15 minutes later and expect to get any connections or any business or
Right.
any networking from it. Like, you have to go and have conversations with people and you have to show up regularly. If you only go one time, people are going to forget you. They're going to remember the people that show up consistently. And like we talked about earlier, you're trying to stand out. You're trying to show that your work speak for itself. So you have to promote it a little bit. And by promoting it, I mean, build relationships, have conversations with people, treat it like a friendship. So if you went to a networking event and you went a few times, you start seeing the same people, you start becoming friendly with them. So that's just like what LinkedIn is. You're going on other people's profiles or their feed. You have a feed, they're posting stuff on it. So it gives you an opportunity to engage with them. Say, you can like their posts, you can comment on their posts. And what you're doing is you're having a bit of a conversation and you're building a little bit of familiarity. And it's a chance to showcase a little bit of your expertise. You go in there and somebody posts a comment, you can add a little bit of value to it. If it's wrong information, you could say, hey, this is maybe where you're wrong. You got to be polite about it, but you're showcasing who
Right.
you are. And then you go, well, that's great and all, but I don't really want to post. I don't want to do my own posting. It's like, well, you don't have to. You can just like and comment and engage on people. But if you want to share your expertise and really be thought of as a thought leader in your space, you need to put yourself out there. You need to show the world that you know what you're talking about. But people also, they don't care that much about your business. They don't care that your business has been around for a million years and how great it is and how awesome it is. What they care about is you as a person. They relate to the humanity side of things. So if you just talk about your business all the time, people are going to get bored. They're not going to get care. But if you talk
Yeah.
about your experiences in the business, your origin story, how you got there, why are you doing the things you do? Every person, everybody has a very unique, compelling story. The only problem is we always think our story is boring, but it's not. It's just boring because we've been there for every minute of it.
Yeah.
Definitely boring parts, but overall, it's still compelling. People relate to that, and we never know really who's listening and who's going to relate. So you could have the exact same story I have, right? You've got construction related experience. I got construction related experience. You've got this fall protection experience. I've got fall
Hmm.
protection. Who do you think is going to relate more to me that somebody else is coming up through the ropes and wants to get in the entertainment industry, is in a female and a male dominated society? Who are they going to relate more with?
They're going to
You or
relate
me?
to me a little more.
Probably you. So that's why it's
Probably.
so important that even if you feel like your message has been shared before,
Mm.
your message with your experience has not. And so that's why you want to share it, because you could be making a difference in somebody else's life by telling your story. And that's where LinkedIn lets you do that. It lets you be a person, it lets you be a human. And when you're relatable to people, people want to get to know you. They want to do business with you. They want to hire you for that job. They're going to know if you fit in the culture that you're trying to be a part of, or you'll know that you're not going to fit in their culture. Like, it kind of like helps you self-select. So that's really what you want to do with LinkedIn, is just start going and treating it like you would anywhere you go to meet people that you're interested in meeting with. Like, you have conversations with them and you get to know them. And as you get to know them, you share parts of yourself about them, and they like you because you're you, and you share your unique experiences and why you bring value to the table. And that's how you get started on LinkedIn.
Hmm. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that just because you think your story is boring, it's probably not. And what theater has taught me and many others is that there are 7 basic plots. Like, there's 7 basic plot structures. But think about how many movies, television shows, stories, books, like, just think of all the different kinds of ways that you can um, view and enjoy art and enjoy these different kinds of stories. But there's only 7 basic structures,
Mm-hmm.
and every story has its foundation, its beginning, and it goes up to conflict, and then its climax, and then a resolution. And okay, but everybody has a different story, and the way that everybody tells their story is going to be different. And you're absolutely right. We both have fall protection experience, and the way that I teach fall protection may be different from the way you would teach fall protection. And that's really important to know. And I find a lot of encouragement in that, because it just, part of this is also learning how to let go. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can let go of your self-limiting beliefs and just have fun at the
Yeah.
same time, you're more likely to attract a lot of positive feedback, if that
I
makes
think,
sense.
I think you are. And everybody's worried because like they see what the internet's like, where people get trolled and they get bad mouth, and they don't want to deal with that. Or they might put themselves out there and realize that their information was wrong, or that they're not really an expert enough to be talking about that. But what I've found is when you start putting yourself out there, people support it. And a lot of times it's not the people you think that are going to support it that come out of the blue and just go, hey, what you did inspired me to do something else. And the way the world kind of like drastically shifted to this digital platform when COVID hit, like all of a sudden now the world is at your fingertips. If you're interested in a very niche idea industry, like maybe there's only 10 people in the whole world that are really into something, like you can get connected to them. You can create a group, a community of people in this very, very small niche across the world and have conversations on a regular basis. Without it, you would just gone through life, would never have crossed paths with those people and thought you were the only person that had this really, really unique niche and interest in something.
And those small groups that you form online, you'll probably get things done faster than any like committee, actual committee.
Yes.
Because those processes take forever. It's, you have to have your minutes, and then you have to make a motion and then agree. And then it's like, there's so many steps to actually getting something done or changed or updated. I actually met my partner at an ANSI committee meeting. So I have no hate towards them. I love them. I'm a nerd like that. I'm just making fun of everybody.
But yeah, it's been great. And so that's really what being public about your interests allows you to do, is it kind of gets the voice out, lets people that you're looking to attract into your life come and find you. And you kind of weed out the people that aren't interested and not supporting you on that. Like they're not going to be interested. They're going to go on their way and find things that they are interested in. So you tend to get connected with people that you have like-minded interests when you do a little bit of putting yourself out there. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's always a little bit scary the first few times. And you go, what, why should I do this? Like, who cares? What does anybody want to know what I have to say? And you're like, you just never know. You never know. You never know when, like you said, somebody crosses your profile, crosses your video you post on YouTube and says, hey, I want you to come work for me. And maybe that's your dream job, or maybe that's the door that opens it to your dream job, that you go, hey, without this entry level job, you don't get to where you want to go, right? You don't get to high level superstar experience that you're looking for if you don't, knock on the right doors and get the foundation and do some hard work to begin with.
Definitely. And this is all really good when it comes to getting started. We talked about engaging on other people's posts, and if you don't feel comfortable posting your own content, you can always reshare other people's content. You can comment on their stuff, tag people in it to get their attention. And I want to know about the next step. When you actually start a conversation, I'm not going to lie, I feel super awkward all the time. I'm like, I don't want to come off like I'm selling anything, but I do want this person to be on board with this idea of mine, or I don't want to come across as like a super fangirl or weird stalker or anything, but I really admire this person's work. And I'm really excited. I've met so incredible people through this Industry Explorers project, but I am really excited by a couple connections that I recently got who are semi-famous or famous. I don't know, like they're famous. Like they are famous. At least to me, they are. I only say semi because if I said it to my dad, he'd be like, "Who are these people? I don't know who they are." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Their work is incredible. They accepted my LinkedIn request. Oh my God."
It is always a big deal when you get like your LinkedIn fans or your I don't know, what would you call them? Like your stars that you're trying to get after, like, oh, LinkedIn crush. You're like, yeah, I got accepted by them. Like, woo. But
yeah.
I mean, one thing, probably, I don't know if I should start with this or end with this, but like, you found a way, right? If you just called and reached out to them without your platform here, there's less likely they're going to have an interest in chatting with you. So right off the bat, when you reached out, you don't have an ask for you. You have an interest to helping them out. Like, hey, I have a platform that spreads message around something that you're interested in, and I can share it with the world, and I'd like for you to be a part of that. And they're like, that's interesting. That's compelling. If I said, hey, I just want to pick your brain about something because I liked your post and I liked your book you wrote, like, no, I don't really have time to chat with creepy stalkers that I met over the internet for an hour.
Mhm.
But having a platform like a podcast or like a show or like a series or documentary, whatever that is, opens a lot of doors. But really what you want to do is, and I guess you're talking about how do you connect with people on LinkedIn digitally, it's through the direct messages. And I would say for most people, you gotta be patient with the direct messages. They're not the thing you want to start with because you're going to do it wrong. Like you're going to forget all rules of common decency of making friends and just word vomit on them a bunch of stuff that they don't care about. You're just going to tell them,
Mhm.
like, hey, I'm so awesome and I want to do awesome things and I need you to be a part of this awesomeness because you're going to make me awesome if you do it. And they're like, I don't care. I don't really care. But
Yeah.
instead, pull back and realize they don't want to hear about you. They don't care about you. They don't even want to talk to you. What they want to do is they want to talk about themselves. They like
Mhm.
talking about themselves. Everybody likes talking about themselves. And if you can get somebody talking about themselves first, they tend to find you to be more engaging, more exciting, more interesting. And a friendship tends to build because you've been interested in them as a genuine person. So what I say to do is figure out who you want to get connected to and do a little bit of stalking, like internet stalking. So if
Do
you
your
want,
stalking before you DM, but then
yeah,
don't come off like a stalker.
yeah, not like bad stalking, like where do they live, what's their address and phone number,
Right. Yeah, of
but
course.
like what are things that they might be interested in? Did you go to the same university? Did you have similar work backgrounds? Do you have interest in the same sports teams? Do you have similar hobbies? Like, what is it that you might have in common that you can make an introduction to? So we're looking for something that's personal, something that's
Mhm.
unique to them that not only you would know, but like that nobody's gonna bring it up. It's not how most people approach them. And then you want to find something that's useful. So like if I was you know, trying to get connected to you, I might go on your profile and I was, oh, okay. So you've been in the entertainment industry, you've done some rigging, you've got some videos up here. Okay. I know like there's some interest here of like this stuff. And what if like I saw this really cool video of somebody else doing a rigging setup? And I was like, hey, did you see this? Do you know another female that's in
Mhm.
your industry that's kind of doing these things? Chances are it's small industry, probably have already met them. But like, so I've made something that's personal. I know who you are and what you're interested in. I'm providing a little bit of useful content to you that goes, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm interested in this, or this is kind of cool that you found this that I hadn't seen before. And I've kept it brief. So by brief is what I mean is it's probably like 2 to 3 sentences. So you got to
Okay.
dump the frivolity, or is that even a word? I don't know. But
The frivolousness.
yeah, frivolousness. Like you don't need to go, hi, insert person's name you're trying to connect with. How are you doing today? Like
Mhm.
that can go away. Like all those words go away. So
Yeah.
we don't need the end, the closing, like, sincerely, Nate, and it would be great to connect with you. Like, we want to keep it brief. So I'd say like, think of it like a text message. Like, how would you text message your friends? Like, you don't say, hi, so and so, I'm on my way to the store. You're like, be right there, on my way. Like, it's very short. So like, you go, hey, cool stuff with rigging. Did you see this video I saw on YouTube about so and so that's doing it too? I thought you might
Mhm.
find it useful. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. And so you go and you read it and you go, hey, nobody sent me a message like this before, right? It looks weird. It just stands out because everybody's telling me how great they are. And this person just told me how great I am. So I'm like, okay, I'll probably respond. I might respond with, yeah, I've seen this before. No, I hadn't seen this before, but you're more likely to respond. And if you respond and you keep it in this like conversational interest and stuff like this, and just kind of like, hey, let the friendship, let it grow on its own naturally. Like
Yeah.
you're everything that I'm doing, that I'm selling my business is on my LinkedIn profile. If you go and I'm going to respond to this person, you're probably going to go to my LinkedIn profile and see like, who just messaged me this message that I haven't seen before. That's pretty interesting.
I
Responded to.
definitely do that.
And then you go on the profile and you go, oh, I know everything they need to know. So I don't have to pitch you what I'm doing. I can just engage in a friendship. And as a friendship grows and builds, then you go, okay, well, I'm kind of interested in what you're doing. And then you take it from there. And then it becomes a little bit of a business, but you wait until it's asked. So I use the PUB method. This came from a book I read called Digital Persuasion. It's right here. It's one of my favorite books to recommend. Digital Persuasion by Erin Gargan King. She talks about in detail, which gist of it is PUB method, which is personally useful brief. And I also tell people, like, when you start using it, it's a little bit of an art form to craft quick, personal, useful brief messages. So practice. Practice on people you don't care if you blow it. Like, don't read the book and then go, here's my ideal client, here's my ideal connection I want to make. I'm going to message Katy Perry and I'm going to blow it, because like I haven't practiced it. So go to somebody that's, if it doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. So it's maybe somebody that you do business with, but not for, or something like that. Just some practice stuff where, like, hey, if I had this conversation with this person, it would be cool, it'd be engaging, but it wouldn't also be career ending if I really blew it, because you probably won't blow it, but it helps you get better at crafting an interesting message. And so you do this a few times and then you're ready to try it out. And
sorry, really real quick, what was the name of that book you recommended? I wanted to put it on the ticker in the bottom.
Digital Persuasion.
Digital Persuasion by
Erin King.
Erin Gargan. Sorry if I did not say that right. King. There we go. We can scroll that on the bottom so that people, if they feel so inclined. I think I feel so inclined. Real quick, I think something that we have kind of glossed over that is really important is starting with your own network, starting with people who you're already connected to. And that's what you did when you were making your transition from construction into becoming a coach for people who are trying to leverage their LinkedIn, is you started with people who you already built relationships with through the construction industry. And that's what I'm doing as well with this Industry Explorers things. And honestly, a lot of my new friends come from Unconventional Leaders, which is another podcast and another group by Heather Parody, who is an incredible leader, and it's full of great people. I want to also touch on some do's and don'ts, because one big do for me is do show that you appreciate and value people. What I do, I'll search a hashtag, something that I care about. So right now I'm searching hashtag hire Disney or hashtag we make events. And then I'll see what other people are talking about that stuff. Or I'll do hashtag hiring, hashtag HR recruitment. And I'll see what these conversations look like. And then I try to figure out, how can I learn from these conversations? And then how can I add value to those conversations? And if I find someone who I really want to connect with, then I'll say, hey, I really appreciated what you said in this post. And yes, this is like strategy and tactic, but I'm very genuine when I do it. I don't just like message someone just because I'm desperate to grow my network. I truly value what these conversations are about, and I truly value how these other people are contributing to these topics. And a big don't for me. Actually, there's two big ones. Number one, don't hit on me. Nobody wants to be hit on social media. I'm sorry, Daniel Popst. I didn't get his number when I met him at that ANSI meeting. So I was like, hey, how are you? But at least we had met in person beforehand. Anyway, but don't be creepy on social media. And the second biggest one for me is don't lie. I when I switched my job title to podcast host, suddenly I was getting a bunch of people sending me requests to connect who are streamlining podcasts. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, I'm just getting started and I'm learning about this industry. So this is good for me to know. But when you send me a message and it says, hey, Siobhan, I'm a big fan of your podcast. Hey, I've got this new tool. And I go, oh, what's your favorite episode? Because I don't have any posted at all. There's no public episodes right now. Tell me what your favorite episode is. I cannot stand liars. Do not lie. Do not do it.
They're probably spam messages, but like it goes back to that thing about being personable and relatable. If I post um, on your page, or I go research somebody and I said, hey, I really like this post that you hear on this date,
Mhm.
maybe not say this date, but hey, you're on so and so's page, you made this post, you made this comment, and it really is appreciative of me. And maybe even I went on there and I commented on their post too. So they say, oh, yeah, I did see you comment on my post.
Mhm.
I know you did see it. And then you brought it up in the message and you said, hey, this real, and maybe went into a little bit more detail, or maybe said something like, I didn't really want to say anything personal that was too personal on it, but this is how it affected me personally. Then you go, oh, that person really did look at my stuff. But when you say,
And
I really like your posts. Okay. Yeah. Which ones?
yeah,
Which ones?
okay. Well, I do too. I like my own posts too. Yeah, that totally goes back to building familiarity. And Pedro has a question for us. I'll go first because I mentioned it. What I do is I'm on Instagram, and when I hashtag things, it'll tell me how many people have posted that hashtag. I don't know if I think it's how many posts are like how many people are using that hashtag.
Mhm.
So if I do hashtag suns out, guns out, that may have 500,000 people who are posting about that. If I hashtag I don't know. If I hashtag rig life, that one might have 1 million followers. Something like hashtag USA is going to have like 30 million posts about it. So I use Instagram to pay attention to those numbers because when when I post something and I hashtag on Facebook or LinkedIn, it doesn't give me that number.
Mhm.
So I actually play with it on Instagram and then I kind of remember what those numbers were. I do a mixture between millions, hundreds of thousands, and then maybe a few hundred or under 100. Because
Mhm.
if you're only using hashtags that 1 million people are using or more, then your post is going to get lost up here. But maybe something more niche is going to get your post is going to get discovered over here. So it's just kind of like playing around with it. And then I use those hashtags that I care about and I'll just go to the search bar in LinkedIn and go hashtag hire Disney. And then anybody who used that hashtag, it shows me all of those posts. I'll also do that if I'm looking for someone with a specific job title. I recently typed in HR manager and sent a couple of requests. Honestly, sometimes I send requests without sending a message and I go, well, let's just see. Maybe they'll be my friend. Maybe they won't. I'm not sure, but I specifically search for people who are doing
Mhm.
hiring because the messages that we are sharing with people through this live stream, it's one to help entertainment workers get back on their feet, but two, it's to help bridge the gap that people have between what a real job looks like and what an entertainment job looks like. It's not this, it's this. It's
Mhm.
entertainment. What we do in entertainment is very valid and it's very real. And it translates into a lot of different things that most people would consider a normal job. And we actually have Pedro coming in on the 19th to talk about transferable skills. And
Awesome.
I'm very excited about our other upcoming guests as well. So, Nate, I'm sorry, I totally stole the limelight from you. Back to you.
No worries. So hashtags on LinkedIn work a little bit different than they do on Instagram and Facebook. So on Instagram, you might be using hashtags because you want to show up on the about page, I think. Is that what they call it? I forget. but you want to be in a trending post for a hashtag, and you get to post 30 of them. So you're picking a mix of long tail, short tail, which is stuff a lot of people are looking at and stuff that's niched down. LinkedIn, you're only going to get the old rule of thumb was like no more than 3. Now they're saying as long as you're between 3 and 10, you'll probably be okay. So you want to kind of balance it. I'd say, maybe go very mixed up between 3 and 6 or 7 maybe. And what you do is you research hashtags differently. So hashtags have follower counts. So that many people follow that hashtag, which means when they follow a hashtag, those posts tend to show up in their feed. So they might follow stuff that's got like a lot of followers. Let's say construction, right? That might have a lot of followers, maybe 1 million. So if I post on there and I tag construction, I might get seen or I might not, because there's a lot of posts and there's a lot of people following it, which you would assume a lot of people are also posting, but you don't know that a lot of people are posting. You just know a lot of people follow. Or you might say, I follow OSHA compliant scaffold rigging, which would be a long tail hashtag, and 3 people follow it. So those 3 people will probably see your post, but it's probably not going to get shown to anybody else organically on those hashtags. So what you should do is go look up words that are relevant to your industry you're in, the message you're talking about, or the message you want to get that message in front of people. So look up hashtags on LinkedIn. It's on the top page. I think you just hashtag in the search bar, hashtag type in your word, and it'll pull it up and it'll tell you like how many people are following that. And so start doing that, start following a few, like maybe 10 to 20 hashtags that are interest to you. So you know what's showing up, and then use those hashtags in your post. So you can use the hashtags one to go, hey, I'm following this hashtag. Let me go see what people are doing in this space. And I can go on their posts and I can comment on their posts, or I can find people to follow or find people to connect with, or I can use the hashtags on my post to show up in that feed. And so I want to give an example of the hashtag, say new home sales. So new home sales might have 500,000 people following. I can't remember the exact number. And you think, wow, that's a lot of people following a hashtag. Maybe I won't use it because I won't get seen in there. But if you go to it, you find out that nobody knows what they're doing on LinkedIn in new home sales. They're just posting their listing photos up on this page, and they get 1 comment or 0 comments, 1 like, and it's like a whole page of this stuff. And it's like, geez, if I want to trend for this, I'm not going to need that much engagement to be the most engaged post for the day and hop up to the top. So anybody that's in that space looking at these hashtags to see, I'm going to show up and be in front of them. So yes, you might be able to trend for it, but on the bad side is if they're not getting good engagement on that hashtag, chances are it's because that industry is also not engaging that much. And so even though you might get more views, the people might not be spending much time on LinkedIn to see it. But so that's really what you do is you go on there, look to see how many are following, and try to find a mix of stuff that's got a lot of followers and something that's got like an amount equivalent to about where you're at with your own personal followers. So if you got like 10,000 followers, look for stuff that's got 10,000 too. If you got like 1,000 followers, look for stuff that's like 2,000 to 5,000. If you got just started and you only got a few hundred, you want to probably still pick some stuff that's got at least 1,000, if not 5,000 or more, to start being seen, and at least go into those spots and start supporting other people's content. If you start supporting other people's content first, it usually comes back to you and they start seeing you in their feed. They start helping you out. So that's really kind of it in a nutshell of how to use hashtags, at least on LinkedIn, because it's a little different. On Instagram, you got a lot more choices, and you're trying to show up in a variety of spots. And LinkedIn, you have to be a bit more selective of where you're going to go. And I would use it too for finding people that you want to get connected to in those spaces you're interested in.
That's a really good advice. So what about, you mentioned one of the topics you wanted to get into is finding new opportunities. And I think a lot of what we've talked about is going to help you find new opportunities by first putting yourself out there and engaging with other people. Then if you're also able to communicate what it is that you do and what it is that you want, then people are more likely to help you. They're more able to help you. If I just sit at home all day and never engage with anybody, nobody's going to know that I have a passion for theatrical makeup. No one's going to know that ever. But if I start putting myself out there and I go, "Hey, this is my very first time trying this look. Hey, does anybody have any advice on these blending techniques or these tools?" And I start putting stuff like that out there, then I'm going to start attracting people in those communities who are going to then engage with me. And through that engagement is opportunity. I'll let you take it away now.
No,
You're the expert here.
You're so right. Like opportunities, when we're out there, we're going like, hey, like the opportunities aren't going to, they do. It's not it's like it's never happened before. Show up on your doorstep while you're sitting on your couch and the Publishers Clearinghouse brings you the check of millions of dollars. Typically, if we want opportunities to happen, we have to put ourselves in the right place. And we've heard that saying a million times. They were in the right place at the right time, right? They got lucky, right place, right time. Well, if you are in the right places more often, the chances of you being there at the right time dramatically increase. So think about the opportunity you're looking for yourself. And let's just call it a career choice at this point. Say you want to create a business.
Rope access.
Yeah. So you want to get rope access. Where do you go to figure that out? Who do you need to hang out with? Like, so start looking for people in that space and you'll start doing it. When I was talking about going and hanging out with the startups, my first thing wasn't like, hey, I want to go hang out with Mark Zuckerberg. Like, no, my thing was like, hey, if I want to get connected to startup businesses, where are they most likely to hang out at? They're most likely to hang out at incubators, pitch contests.
What is an incubator?
Funding places. So what's that?
What is an incubator?
An incubator is like a place where you have a business and you need help growing it. So you get placed into like a group. Like it could be an organization, it could be a government organization, it could be a private equity fund, it could be something where they say, hey, we're going to put you in this incubator and we're going to give you support to take your idea and turn it into a business and introduce you to other people that can help you along the way. Maybe it's how to write a better pitch. Maybe it's how to develop your product better. Maybe it's coding maybe it's getting you the right subject matter expert. So that's what an incubator is it's really a place where you're trying to hatch little ideas and turn them into big chickens. So
yeah.
So you start hanging out these places where the people are that hang out with, and you go there the first time. And I went to this, pitch contest the first time. I didn't know a soul, and it was kind of awkward. But I said, hey, I wanted to get plugged in. Could you show up at this thing? So I show up at this thing. I get introduced to 2 or 3 people, and you take those meetings because you're trying to get connected to people in the space. And those 2 meetings turn into 2 other meetings, which turn into 2 other meetings. And you reach out and you say, hey, I saw you at this event. And I didn't get a chance to say hi to you, but I found you on LinkedIn. And so I just wanted to say it was really cool that you did this thing. And I wanted to get your reason why you did it. And they have a conversation with you and you go, cool, I'm trying to get plugged in more. Like, any advice for somebody trying to get plugged in more? Oh, go hang out with this person, talk to this person. So you start like building this network in the space you want to be in. So if you're like going, hey, I want to get a job, a new job, or I want to switch industries, like you I don't know about you, but I've never gotten a job from the cold email. I've never gotten a job from a cold apply on Indeed or Monster.com. They always came from an introduction from somebody else to the people that are hiring. And I may have applied for it through like a career portal, but I knew people there that kind of opened the door for that to take your resume from the bottom of the stack to the top and go, hey, it's up to you to lose this thing. And so you go and do it. So you really just got to kind of start building connections in the space you want to be in and learn the language. People always, no matter what industry you're in, even if it's niche, like we probably would call the same scaffolding or the same rigging different things, right? If I told you to go get your sky hook out of the back of the truck, you might go looking for it, but I would know that that's a complete joke. But I'm just kidding.
Sky hook? I was thinking like, oh, is that what you call it? We call it rebar hook or lobster claw. I was like,
So
"Ooh, let's play this game. What are we getting? Do we call these things different?" That would be a fun game to
that
play,
would be fun.
actually.
But
I
yeah,
I was in a meeting one time talking to someone about distributing fall protection, and he was explaining to me how like an SRD works or how a horizontal lifeline works, and I'm like, I I'm very familiar with this. You would be very surprised how familiar I am with this gear. And he's like, "Oh, what is it exactly that entertainment rigging is all about?" And I'm like, "We climb wire rope ladders and we hook onto the SRD as our secondary fall protection. And we have some people who are heavily involved in rope access because that's their only means of safely accessing their work. And we have horizontal lifelines because you have to be able to go from point A to point B to fix a light somewhere, like."
mhm.
And he goes, "Oh, huh, I never knew that." And I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, there's this weird disconnect between entertainment and everybody else."
Yeah.
It's very amusing to me, but also not amusing because then it makes it hard to get a job in an industry outside of your own. But
Mhm.
this all goes back to communicating very clearly and concisely what it is that you do, what you're capable of, and then putting yourself out there by engaging with other people. And to engage with other people, you have to find where do you figure out where you want to be, figure out who you want to be, and then find those people that are already there. Where are they hanging out? Then go there and
Mhm.
do the thing. Do the
Exactly.
thing because the thing could be so many things. I
Yes.
took advantage of a senior honors project at Cal State Fullerton, and I would reach out to professionals and say, "Hey, I'm a student. I'm working on like my student card. Hey, I'm a student and I'm trying to write about this. You're an expert in it. Can you help me with my project?" And that works. But when you're an
Yeah.
adult, you got to change your tactic a little bit. "Hi,
Yeah.
I'm starting a podcast to help these people. I think you would add value to it. Would you like to be a guest?"
You got it down. You got it down pat.
I don't know. I think it helps paying attention to conversations, and it helps engaging with people like you and paying attention to your content because you put out a lot of good information on your own LinkedIn page and you have a private group on Facebook.
It
Can I
gotta
share
be.
with people how they can follow you and
Yes, that
how
would
they can
be
get a hold of you?
they
I
should.
should have done that beforehand. I gotta
Please,
type my
please
quicker.
do.
So follow. Thank you, Cooper. Thank you, Cooper, for he got mad at me for not being prepared. Follow Nate Peo on LinkedIn. And then you have a website as well,
Yeah.
correct?
NatePeo.com. That's usually the easiest place to get in touch with me. It's like the center point for social media links, for my courses, for my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's my home spot.
There we go. We're going to flash that across the screen a few times. I know, Cooper. I should have already typed that out before we started this. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, follow Nate on LinkedIn. He also has a website, and I have been what is it called in Google Analytics? Crawling. I was crawling your website, and you have a course that you offer. Is that right? You have two
Yeah.
courses.
I have two courses. The one I just recently launched is a $9 LinkedIn training. So for $9 a month, you can go learn the basics on LinkedIn, and then I'm adding advanced stuff to it. So you always have the latest, freshest information. So the basics will get you like, hey, this is what you need to do at the very minimum. It applies to everybody. But then some of the more advanced stuff, you might say, hey, Sales Navigator is really not for me. I just want to learn about hashtags, or I want to learn how to use stories in a certain way, or the
Mhm.
algorithm change, or whatever's going on. There's going to be little bits and pieces that you can go and continue to add to your skills, to your tools, to go out there and make connections. So really think of LinkedIn as not a social media platform, but a networking event. And it's a
Mhm.
tool to get connected to other people. And that tool is, we're trying to build a human relationship with another human. We want to be personal and we want to treat it that way. But there's tools that allow us to do it at scale and to do it at distance. And it's like the world's become amazingly smaller in the last 6 to 7 months. And it's your chance to kind of get connected to if you want to vibe with your tribe, it's easy to find them now.
Yeah, definitely. Use those hashtags. So follow Nate on natepeo.com and on LinkedIn. And he is also on Facebook. What is the name of your Facebook group?
It's the All In Community with Nate Peo.
I'm part of that group. It's just
Yes,
a
you
long
are.
name and I did not memorize it.
It plays off my podcast.
Cooper did not make a noise at me just now, but he is looking at me very judgmentally. Oop. Yeah, he's sighing. Ugh, sorry. And also, please subscribe to Industry Explorers on YouTube so that I can continue giving you guys this luscious, beautiful, wonderful, valuable content. Any closing remarks from you, Nate?
No, I was great. I had a lot of chatting with you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun too.
Here's our mini industry explorer. He's gonna make an appearance. Say hi.
What's your name?
What's your name?
Lucas.
Lucas, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Firefighter.
A firefighter? I know.
Mom, when Christmas is starting, and then Mom said I can have my portal kind of like playset.
Oh, I hope you're good. I hope you've been good for Santa so that you do get what you want.
All right, I'll come and get you in a minute, okay?
I love it. That's fun. Come here. Come here. Come here. No, he doesn't. Cooper doesn't want to make an appearance. Oh, well.
What does Cooper want to be when he grows up?
He wants to... Cooper wants to be a... He's a blue healer, so he wants to chase everything all the time. So when he grows up, he wants to actually catch something and bring it in the house.
So you want that to happen.
Yeah. And on that note, follow Nate Peo, subscribe to Industry Explorers, and until next time, I will see you guys on our next adventure. Take care.